Well, Graham, thank you very much for joining us. We've got plenty to look back on in your time at the club, both as a player and a manager. Let's start off as a player. 85 appearances over 6 years, from sort of 1962 to 1968, and what a fantastic 6 years, what a dramatic 6 years they must have been.
Yeah, when I look back and think coming here, I came down on one Friday, played the reserves on a Saturday against Crystal Palace, so like a trial game. We travelled to London on the bus, didn't know everybody, came back on the Sunday, came to the ground, and Dave Bones met me there, and he said, I want you to join the ground staff. So I came back, and within 2 weeks, I'd already seen the ground. I think one of the nights I came back, I think they played Corby Town or somebody in the Northampton Senior Cup, and that was the first time I actually saw the county ground with nobody on the actual far side, so that was an experience, but it was a really good club, good people, nice people run it, and it was run on a very professional lines with Dave Bone, his experience, possibility, Arsenal, everything seemed perfect, nice travel. Fred York was chairman of the club, so the travel was nice. We stayed at the best hotel, so apart from the county ground, which was a little downer, but everything was fine,
And you came in at a time where results on the field were going fantastic. The club was on a rise up through the divisions. It must have been an exciting first few years for you.
Excellent, and we just, honestly, the side that Dave Bone put together to win the championship, the third division, I had one appearance, to be fair. I was understudy to Terry Branston, and Terry never missed a game. So, but that side was a really good side. At 64, really well worth watching, and it was just enjoyable to be there, Gareth. And we were quite happy to play in. We played in the reserve side and just looking for the first team to win and getting promotion. That was my second season. The first season it was like a consolidation for them in the third division, and then bump off they went.
It seems astonishing to think in this day and age about a team that could climb up through the division so quickly. Did it feel as astonishing at the time, or were you just on such a roll that it just felt a natural conclusion?
Well, Gareth, it was just like the thing that was installed in the club, and every match you never thought that you never thought they would get beat. It was strong characters, and I think Dave Bone, if you look back, he had a knack. The back four was very, very strong, which was Theo Foley, Mickey Everett, Terry Branston and John Carrilla, and they kept that side a little bit, the defence together, but he had Alec Ashworth, who had a great start, and with Cliff Holton up front, and then he brought Frank Large in, and you keep changing the forwards to keep the momentum going, and goal scorers win your matches and help you along the way. But it had a very solid club, and I used to look back and think, with the state of the county ground, how did he attract those players to the ground, But once you get into the club, I never heard many players want to leave Northampton Town, they enjoyed it there.
The ultimate, of course, was actually making it up to the first division, what's the Premier League these days. What are your memories of the time when promotion was actually achieved? It must have been a fantastic occasion for the town.
Well, Gareth, I've told many people that the stories. It got to... Terry Branston got injured at Norwich, and I got in for the last 8 games. Well, when it got to the last 3, we had to play Bury on, which was on the East. I think it was the Easter Saturday. And what was already planned, if we didn't beat Bury, it was planned for us to fly from Luton to Exeter Airport to play Plymouth on the Monday and fly back on the Monday night and play Plymouth on the Tuesday. But we won 4-1 quite convincingly at Bury on the Saturday. But we still flew on the Sunday down to from Luton down to Exeter, and we played. We got beat. Derek Leck got sent off, and we also flew back that night. And we beat Plymouth on the Tuesday. But going back to the to the Saturday match when we won at Gig Lane, I don't think it really sunk in with many players what the achievement was. You know, when you see what happens nowadays with the media coverage, if somebody wins a league or somebody gets promotion, and we're sitting on the bus having a bottle of beer, and Dave Bowen was on, there was a sports report then, and you could hear him on sports report talking about it, like, you know, well, when you look back, it was a great achievement.
A fantastic achievement, and you spoke about the county ground, the club being very professional, but the county ground obviously being unique, shall we say. It must have been quite surreal that following season to be in the top flight of English football and seeing some of the biggest names in, you know, the biggest clubs, the biggest names coming to play at the county ground. Yeah,
I was first ever sub unused, and that was at Everton and got beat 5-2. And Terry Branson, who'd been injured, he probably wanted to play, and he hadn't really recovered from his injury. So I came in against Arsenal on the Tuesday night, and then we're Manchester United on the Saturday. Those were the two first games in the first division. So it was quite an experience for me. I was only 20 years of age at the time, but you know, tell people about that cricket side, you know, that left wing going towards the hotel end and the right wing going to the cop, you know, there was the grass cut shorter for the cricket side. The ball used to zip off there. I think our players knew it a bit better than what the opponents did.
You wouldn't see that these days, of course. Just the club were actually really unlucky to be relegated that season, weren't they? Wasn't it the record number of points, still to be relegated? And you just think now, how unfortunate, given that Northampton, their first year in the top flight, the odds would have been stacked against the club. How unfortunate to go down in those circumstances.
Yes, well, it was 2 points to win and point to draw then, Gareth. So it was disappointing, really. We had a lot of fighters in the side, you know. But sometimes when you fight for quite a long time, and all of a sudden, when you don't get the results, it hits you in other ways. And but they give our best, you know, and it was a shame what happened after that.
Yeah, as you say, after the meteoric rise up the leagues, obviously the fall back down the leagues, and I don't know. Do you think if the club had survived more than 1 year in the top flight, whether the next few years would have been any different? Would it have been a foundation for the club to try and stay, or was it always an uphill task?
Well, Gareth, when you look back at the side, you know, Harry Lyons was very young, who'd played on nearly all the season. Tommy Robson was a winger who they sold to Chelsea. They sold him in the December. But if they'd been in a better position in the league, I suppose he possibly would have stayed at the club. Tommy was about 21, and then Brian Etheridge, Don Martin, Jim Hall, they were all at the club. Myself, you know, was quite a bit of a young side who had a lot of experience that year in the first division, as it was. And possibly they could have maybe held them all together, because I think what happened with Graham Moore moved to Charlton when they get relegated, so you start losing your better players.
As you say, after the rise came the fall, and the better players who'd perhaps had a taste of playing in the first division, that they're wanted by other clubs and they get the opportunity to move on. And it must have been a difficult few years for the club immediately following that first division season.
Yeah, I think as well. I think it was a thing where they're looking at the finance as well, Gareth, like it is most. It happens all the time now. If you drop down a league, you know, the first thing to do is try and sell the better players. You know, like it was then. I think don't think they were big payers, but there was quite a decent wage, you know, that the players were paid then.